Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie Bree, and today, this video, I'm doing something a little different, a little more personal. I do not advertise my channel as educational or necessarily informative. Largely what you get here are my experiences and my opinions, informed by my experiences. And sometimes you get me talking out of my ass, because why not? You know, I'm a fat girl, I gotta do something with that butt. Eek. On a serious note, and this is a more serious video, this one is going to be a little more informative. I won't go so far as to say educational, but informative than most of my videos, as in this one is intended to be taken seriously, and this one is intended to be informative, and as the title of the video suggests, I'm going into details of my personal beliefs, specifically and I'm using the word deity here, the deities I revere. Now, they're not all gods or goddesses. Some of them may or may not be classified as demigods. Some of them may or may not be classified as spirits of some sort. And some of them may or may not be classified as demons or demon-like entities. But I have 12 deities. And I'm using the word deity to refer to all of them, because these are supernatural forces I revere. Either I pray to, or when I do spells, I call upon their energies, or whatever. I am a pagan witch. Should have prefaced this with that. So, my beliefs, and I'm going to touch on my personal beliefs briefly, because I'm going to do a whole video on this later. And I've already done one video on it, kind of. Well, one or two, kind of. But this one's... okay, enough of that. I am pagan. Old world pagan, but also new pagan. And I do not follow any specific pagan tradition. I am not Wiccan, I am not heathen, or anything else. I am just well, I shouldn't say that. I do follow I loosely follow a couple of different traditions, and I say loosely because, well, more than a couple, and here's why. I started out witch, not Wiccan, but just witch. When I was a kid, I was into witchcraft. And then when I was 12, I was born again into the non-denominational Christian religious point of view. And then raised from there on, largely Baptist, until a few years ago I converted to Catholicism, sidestepped from Catholicism into Anglicanism, and then turned towards paganism. So that's my history. This is going to be a long video. I have 12 deities. I'm not going to give you the full 10-minute lecture on each deity, but I'm going to be respectful to them, because in my perspective, in my belief system, these are real entities, real beings with a consciousness and feelings and expectations and the like, and so they command respect, and I try my hardest to respect them as much as I can. Some more than others. Now, the pagan philosophies that I will not go so far as to say as adhere to, but the pagan philosophies I draw inspiration from, are mostly Roman paganism, Greek paganism, Norse paganism, Irish paganism, and American paganism. And you're scratching your head, what's American paganism? Well, I may link to a video on it. It's a New Age sort of, and I'm not going to say made up, because you could argue all religions are made up, but I'll say recently discovered interpretation of paganism. that reveres some of the imagery and iconography of the United States as deities, which I'll talk about when I go down the list. This is not a ranked list per se, in that number 1 is my most important deity and number 12 is my least important deity. That's not the case. It's mostly just I went down the order as I could remember their names when I was making my bullet list. So I knew who to reference. But I have a supreme deity and then I have a primary deity. Now, before I get into the nuance, I'm just going to say I was raised Christian. So Joshua is one of my deities. And I am nuanced. And it's complicated. So I have Wikipedia pages pulled up on all 12 of my deities. One of them is a spirit animal. I'll get that out of the way. Drawing from Irish paganism and borrowing from like I said, the aforementioned American paganism. Spirit animals are in the Irish paganism tradition. And my justification is this spirit animal came to me in a dream and called to me. And so it took ownership of me. And so based on that, I respect it as one of my 12. Now, I'm not going to describe my practice or my beliefs. I'm just going to give you a brief synopsis of each deity and what they mean to me. This pendant here has 12 stars. 12 points. It's a 12-pointed star. And it has energies infused in it from each of my deities. Each one of them granted me some of their essence, more or less. And they've blessed it, for lack of a better word. And so whenever I do magic, I draw on the energies in that pendant. So I'll go down the list. Now, my supreme deity is Joshua. My primary deity is Brigid, Brigid. There's other ways to spell it, but this is Brigid from Ireland, the Irish Brigid, who the Catholics have co-opted as Saint Brigid, but this is not Saint Brigid. Not per se, specifically. It gets complicated. Paganism is not as simple, air quotes, as Christianity, which Christianity is not so fucking simple either. Let me tell you what. I went to all the different churches and denominations and explored them all. And no two Christians, from the same church even, agree on diddly squat. They don't. So Christianity is hella complicated as it is. So paganism is at least as, if not more complicated than that. And no, I am not Wiccan. But I have I'm going to put a pin in that because I have a Wiccan-esque kind of, sort of viewpoint on one aspect of religion, which I will get into when I get into it at the end of this video, when I talk about it. So, Brigid is number 1. She's my primary, not supreme deity, primary. Supreme meaning, in my belief system, Joshua is probably above all, and the rest exist in their own hierarchy within their own pantheons. But Brigid is my primary, meaning she's the one I pray to almost daily. She's listening, and she knows she's going to tell me, you don't pray to me every day, and I don't. But I say almost, as in, I try really hard to remember her, but I have a shitty memory, and I am bipolar, and I'm a very busy person, and I'm very fucking scatterbrained. So I do forget her quite a bit, and the rest of these also equally. So I do apologize for that. Brigid is an Irish deity. She's the daughter of the Dagda, and may or may not depending on the mythology, be the daughter of the Morrigan. But she is essentially a triple goddess. And she's the one she's my mother goddess. So she's the one I pray to the most. And she's the one I turn to for my day-to-day needs. My cat wants to be in this video. He is not my spirit animal. Nope. And he is not my familiar. He is my buddy. He's my baby, my child. Not literal offspring, but my adopted child. I do believe in familiars. Kinda, sorta. And I'm working on getting one, acquiring one, or finding one, or it finding me. But I'm not there yet. I'm not ready for that. But that's, you know, a thing I'd like to pursue. My second deity is Gaia, the mother of Earth, the spirit of Earth. I don't have to tell you who Gaia is. She's like, of all of them, next to Joshua, who you know is Jesus, she's the most famous out of all of them. More people know who Gaia is than any of the rest of these. Except, again, Joshua. More people know who Joshua is than Gaia, probably. Or at least as many people who know Joshua are at least vaguely familiar with Gaia. So I don't have to tell you that much about her. Gaia is one I turn to whenever I'm in nature. So whenever I'm, you know, bonding with my kitty cat, I'll dedicate him to Gaia. Whenever I'm out in the woods or in the, you know, the wilderness or out in the country, and I'm communicating with trees and plants and wildlife, I'll go through Gaia and ask her for guidance. But she's not a day-to-day deity. Not one that I talk to frequently. Number 3 is Luna. Now, Luna is special to me, but I only communicate with Luna when there's a full moon. And most of my communication with her is asking her to bless my moon water. And, you know, lighting a candle to her when I remember to do so. Or some other offering when I remember to do so. And asking her for forgiveness when I forget. I'm gonna go back through the list after I tell you who they are, and I'll tell you why I picked them specifically. Number 4 is Astrea. Astrea is a Greek goddess, and I am not going to get into the specifics of her sphere of influence or her, you know, realm. Instead, I'm going to say when I talk to Astrea is usually in September, around my birthday, because she's the goddess associated with the goddesses associated with the constellation Virgo. Number 5 is Freya. Freya is a Norse goddess. So think German. Was what I was trying to say. Germanic is what I was trying to say. Freya is one that I talk to more frequently during Yuletide, because I do celebrate Yuletide, not Saturnalia or whatever it's called, and not Christmas. I do not celebrate Christmas, so please do not say Merry Christmas to me. Either wish me Happy Holidays or a Merry Yuletide, or a Happy Yuletide, but I prefer Merry Yuletide. But do not say Merry Christmas or Happy Christmas to me, please. And I will delete and ban anyone who says those in the comments. So don't test me, please. I don't need that. You don't need that. Be respectful. Number 6 is either Hecate or Hecate or Hecate. I'm not sure how other people say it. I've heard it different ways. I say Hecate because that's how I heard it first, and that's what I go with because it sounds good to me. Hecate is a goddess of witchcraft, so I usually turn to her or call on her whenever I'm performing witchcraft or doing magic, unless it's specific to one of the other deities. Number 7 is Lilith. Lilith is the goddess of hell. You may know her from the Diablo video game franchise or Chilling Adventures of Sabrina on Netflix. Lilith is the consort to Lucifer. She's the mother of demons and the mother of succubi and incubi, as well as the mother of vampires. Lilith is one I talk to specifically when I'm working with demons of any nature. Lilith and I have an understanding. That understanding is she will keep her distance unless called upon, on the condition that I do not step foot in a Christian church. As long as I agree to that, she'll agree to keep peace with me. And as long as I do the things I say I will do, she will grant me the audience I'm requesting when such time arises. Number 8 is Columbia. Columbia is controversial because you could argue she doesn't really exist. She's an image, a made-up image. But I disagree with that. I believe Columbia was a goddess that either got forgotten by the old world and they didn't, because of whatever reason, maybe she was exiled or ostracized, so they didn't write about her in the old world, or she lived in the New World, North and South America, Central America, the Bahamas and that region, and may or may not be a female counterpart or representation of the Native American Great Spirit, which I want to tread very carefully, or she is a deity that never revealed herself to the natives for whatever reason and waited for the Europeans to arrive and give her purpose, perhaps. I don't know. I usually reserve my prayers to Columbia around very specific U.S. cultural days of significance. This would be cultural holidays and things of that sort. And whenever I'm going to the polls to vote. Number 9 is Libertas, or Lady Liberty. Libertas probably has more weight in the wider weight of acceptance in the wider pagan community than Columbia does. Libertas is a Greek goddess of liberty, basically. And her icon is the same icon that is used for Columbia, the Statue of Liberty. So there's some intersection between the two. Columbia may just be Libertas in disguise. I don't know. Or she may be completely fabricated. They may all be fabricated. I don't know. We'll talk about that when I get there. By the way, this is going to be a good long video. Think 45, 50 minutes. Because I'm going to get into not just my practice with them, but why I picked them. So, number 10 is Joshua. I pray to Joshua whenever I have a perceived sin against the universe. I ask for his forgiveness. And I pray to Joshua whenever I have a pressing need that I don't have time to do a ritual to one of the other deities to get their attention and respect and admiration and assistance and whatnot. Because he tends to be more, by and large, willing, I'll say, to answer prayers than the others. And he tends to be more direct in his responses than some of the others. Number 11 is the Morrigan. The Morrigan is not the, but a goddess of war, and may or may not be a goddess of death, depending on your perspective and the mythology that you find her in. I do not ever seek out the Morrigan. She comes to me. So I talk to her when she demands my attention. And that's it. She's one who chose me because Bridget chose me first, and she has a familial relationship with Bridget. She's either her mother, possibly her stepmother, because she was, I believe, either married to the Dagda, who is Bridget's mother, or a consort to the Dagda, which means she's at least a surrogate mother to Bridget, if not her literal mother or stepmother. So she's a mother figure in Bridget's life. Bridget chose me. The Morrigan is basically keeping an eye on me to make sure I treat Bridget with the respect she deserves. The last one is the black bear. This is my spirit animal. My girlfriend got me this for Christmas. Well, Yuletide, I should say. Last year. This is a pendant of the bear, the black bear, the North American black bear. And I did request the essence of the black bear to be imbued into this pendant. I cannot say definitively if the spirit obliged. I can say the spirit does protect me when I call upon it, and I usually reserve calling on the great bear when I'm in mortal danger and I desperately need courage to, survive, which is rare, but I'm a trans woman living in a red Republican state, so I'm in mortal danger every time I go out in public. More or less. Especially if you read the news. So those are my 12 deities. Excuse me. Now I'm going to backtrack, go back to the beginning, and I'm going to go through why I picked each one and what they represent to me. I know this is kind of complicated, but I wanted to do it this way because I wanted to get the who they are and what I talk to them for, or how I communicate with them up front, in case people stop watching the video at this point, because that was the more important information. So Bridget came to me 2 years ago on Maybone, which is a pagan holiday, the fall equinox. I did a ritual, and I'm not going to get into the specifics of that ritual, but I did a ritual more or less calling to the universe, giving an open invitation to any spiritual being, supernatural entity, or god or goddess who was willing to answer my call. Bridget answered my call, and she came to me in a dream, and mostly comes to me in dreams, so I will say that. And we had a chat, and I welcomed her into my life and invited her into my heart, and I did another welcome into my life ritual specific to Bridget. Bridget chose me. She sought me out. Bridget told me in my dream she's the one that implanted in my mind the word Bree in my brain before I met her. So when I chose the name Stephanie Bree, B-R-I, it was subconsciously in reference to her, or a dedication to her. I chose Gaia because I'm kind of a nature witch. And I say kinda. I'm a chaos witch who respects nature. And so I chose to communicate with Gaia in the instances that I do, because I respect nature, and she's the gateway to nature, the overseer of nature. I chose Luna specifically because I also like to do moon magic, because lunar magic is not necessarily the most powerful magic. It is certainly more powerful than some magics, but it's one of the easier ones to get into, because the rules, I shouldn't say rules, but the rituals regarding lunar magic aren't as complicated as some of the other rituals regarding other schools of magic. I also chose Luna because I like to go out at night. I'm recording this at 3 in the morning, and I like to stay up at night, and so the moon watches over me. So I like to think that Luna is watching over me. Number 4, I picked Estrella because I'm a Virgo, and she's the goddess of Virgo. So that's why I picked her. She does not answer my prayers or heed my calls. I only talk to Estrella on my birthday or in the month of September. So I feel like that may be a roadblock between the two of us, keeping her at a distance. But I'm going to keep trying because I still respect her. I chose Freya because of my Germanic heritage. I've talked about this in a different video. I believe it's the one where I talk about the 5 languages I want to learn. I talk about my German heritage. And so she's one of the goddesses of the Norse mythology, which is one German people or people with Germanic ancestry would have likely recognized. I chose Hecate because I'm a witch, and she's the goddess of witches. So when I'm doing witchcraft, I usually ask her for help. I chose Lilith because she's the queen of hell. Now, I'm going to come back to Lilith in a minute when I talk about the one aspect of Wicca that I kind of use as inspiration. But I like Lilith because she herself hates the Judeo-Christian God and everything he represents and everything about him, including his people and their teachings, etc. But I only specifically hate Christianity as a organized religion and Christians who are bigots or belligerent assholes. So I don't hate Joshua. I have no reason to. And I have no hatred for Yahweh. And I have no hatred for the Bible or people who follow the Bible necessarily, as long as they're following the teachings of the Bible and not making shit up and using the Bible to justify the shit they made up. But I do hate one branch of Christianity, and this is the Baptist Church. So if you are a Baptist, I do apologize, but I hate the Baptist Church. That doesn't mean I hate individual Baptists. It just means that I hate the organized Baptist Church. So this would be the Southern Baptist Convention, the American Baptist Association, and whatnot, and so on and so forth. And yes, this does include independent fundamental Baptist churches. So think dispensational evangelical Baptist churches. Those I do hate. I specifically sought out Lilith because in a point in my past, I'll say, I declared spiritual warfare on the Baptist Church, broadly speaking, and Lilith is a big supporter of that, and she's willing to train and send demons as soldiers to me in that war under certain circumstances, under certain conditions. And I chose Lilith because I'm a chaos witch. I have a morbid desire to tame a succubus as a pet and turn it loose on my enemies. And I have to have Lilith's permission to do so, and I'm doing so strictly under her guidance. I chose Columbia because I saw a YouTube video talking about her, and I was fascinated by the possibility of her as a lost goddess or hidden or exiled goddess. And I'm an American. I was born in America. I was raised red-blooded, patriotic American. And I like the idea of a supernatural force that isn't Joshua watching over this land. Maybe not in perfect harmony with the native spirits, but at least in relative harmony compared to Joshua. I chose Libertas more or less for the same reason as Columbia, but also because I respect the concept of human free will. Liberty, free will. The idea that each individual human ought to be in control of their own destiny. And Libertas represents that. I didn't choose Joshua or Yahweh, the son of Yahweh. He chose me when I was 12 years old. He converted my dad, and my dad converted me, and we have an understanding. If you're Christian, your mind is probably boggled right now. How can I pray to or have a relationship with Jesus, or Joshua, as I call him, and what you would probably classify as false deities or possibly demons? I don't know your perspective. This video is gonna get some comments, I'm pretty sure. I may disable comments on this video. I haven't decided yet. But so if I asked you to say anything in the comments and I do disable comments, I'm apologizing for that now. But also I may make a comment and then disable comments explaining that. I don't know yet. If you're still watching this, thank you. Please subscribe and thumbs up and leave a comment if I don't disable comments. Anyways, Joshua has in his tenets two things that I reference that allow me to have a relationship with him and other deities who I believe are equals to him in their own pantheons. Tenet number 1, the 10 Commandments says, I am a jealous God. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. So, if you break that apart philosophically or legally speaking, which Joshua is a very legalistic God. I mean, he wrote the law, the Jewish law. He's a very legalistic God. And if you take a legalistic approach, he says, A, you can have no other gods, masculine. 2, before me. As in, it's okay to have other deities, especially female deities, so long as they're not number 1. Make me number 1, and then you can do whatever you want with them. More or less, that's how I interpret the 10 Commandments. Number 2, Joshua himself is quoted as, I'm paraphrasing, so don't at me, saying that if you love your neighbor and you love God with all your heart, you have kept the whole law. Which I interpret as long as you're a decent human being and you love people in general, he'll accept you. So, there is that. The Morrigan. Like I said previously, I didn't choose her. She chose me. She does keep her distance. She knows she's not welcome or invited into this house. But she does watch over me from a safe distance. And when I'm in her realm, she does occasionally reprimand me if I make some kind of mistake, I'll say, in my relationship with Bridget. She calls me out. And then, like I said, the Great Bear came to me in a dream, so it chose me. I didn't choose it. Now, we're going to backtrack a little bit once again. At the top of the list, I'm going to skim through it once again. And I'm going to say what I believe about this individual. And then I'm going to stop at Lilith and expound on that Wiccan thing that I talked about earlier. I believe Bridget, the goddess, and Saint Bridget of Catholicism and Anglicanism are the same entity. I believe Bridget is a living, breathing spirit, probably, but I'm not going to define her as such, but probably, as is the case with all of these deities, a supernatural or extraterrestrial, extraplanar, multiverse traveler. So I believe she probably comes from another dimension or another universe or another multiverse or something along those lines, or a different plane of existence than we do. So I believe she is a literal, living, breathing person. She may not have a physical form in the material plane. Gaia, I believe, is the spirit of the earth and embodies all spirit. All living creatures have a spirit, and Gaia is a abstract representation of all those spirits. So I will not go so far as to say I believe Gaia is a singular supernatural force, but I communicate with her on the assumption that she is, and treat her with respect. I believe Luna is basically a force of nature. She may or may not, I will not define this, she may or may not be gravity manifested. She may or may not be antimatter manifested. But I believe I still treat her as a singular being with a consciousness, even if she may not be a literal entity. I do believe Estrella is the goddess that the Greeks said she was, and that she has her reasons for not wanting anything to do with me, for the most part. I believe Freya is probably similar in nature or existence as what the Marvel fictional representation of the Asgardians is, the Norse gods, in that she's probably a extraplanar traveler who may or may not have come to Earth in the past and may or may not have a presence of sorts on the material plane on Earth. I believe Hecate is a literal goddess, who the Greeks said she was, and I believe she is the goddess of magic and is the one controlling the forces that we attempt to manipulate when we perform spells. I believe Lilith is who she says she is, the first wife of Adam, the consort, and I don't know if she's his wife, but the consort to Lucifer or Satan, depending on your perspective. I believe she is the literal mother of the spiritual or supernatural beings we call demons. I do not believe demons are inherently evil. I'll do a whole video on that. She's also, I believe, the literal mother of vampires, because that's what she claims to be and that's what she's attributed as. I believe she's a former human who ascended to godhood. So she's probably more akin to a demigod than a higher god. But I still respect her as an equal to the other gods. Columbia is, I believe, most likely a representation of ideas held by the Native Americans as well as the European settlers and the imperialists. So she may be some form of spiritual go-between who came into, I won't say existence, but came into our knowledge or into our awareness when the time came to attempt to facilitate peace between the European settlers and the Native Americans, and was probably thwarted in that attempt, and she may or may not still be around. I believe Libertas is the goddess the Greeks say she is, or was she Roman? Greeks or Romans, whichever one. And I believe she is, like I said, an extraplanar traveler. I'm going to skip over Joshua because I haven't formulated an opinion on Joshua yet. I believe he is a god, and within the realm of Judeo-Christian ethics, he is the supreme god of people who follow him. He's their supreme god. But I will not go so far as to say he's the only one true god, because he didn't always make that claim, and he wasn't always taught as such by the Israelite people before they were the Jewish people, before they had the Jewish religion. So the Israelites believed in a pantheon of gods. He was one of many. I believe the Morrigan comes from the same place that Bridget comes from, the Tuatha Dé Danann. So wherever they came from, she came from there too. The spirit of the bear, I believe, is just a either a I gotta be careful how I say this. Either a representation of the Great Spirit that the Native Americans revered, and it chose me because I live on stolen Native American land, and it recognizes my efforts to help and facilitate justice for Native American people. My girlfriend is partially Native American, kind of. It's complicated. But, anyways. Also, well, Mexican. She's kind of partially Hispanic. Mostly Hispanic. But, putting that aside. The other possibility, the Great Bear is a loose spirit of a dead bear. And it's probably one of billions of deceased bear spirits, or separated from its physical body, I should say, not necessarily deceased. Or it's the embodiment of all bears. I don't know. I have to do some more investigating. This will probably come through meditation and astral projection and other forms of spiritual knowledge seeking. All right, let's go back to Lilith and Wicca. I do not follow, nor believe, nor recognize the tenets of Wicca, the religion of witchcraft. However, I do believe in the existence of the horned god, who may or may not be Lucifer and or Satan, or who may or may not be the Celtic horned god. I believe his name was Luge. Or may or may not be Pan. But I do believe there is an entity that Wiccans call the horned god. And I believe in this entity, which I will not further define yet. I believe this entity is real because it has come to me in dreams and requested my audience. Or has requested me having an audience with it. Him? I don't know. This entity has come to me in dreams and attempted to communicate with me and facilitate and establish a functional working relationship, which I have flatly rejected. The horn god may be related to Lilith. If it is Lucifer, it's her consort. It may or may not be related to, like I said, Luge, the Celtic god, and it may or may not be Pan. I don't know. They may all be separate entities with similar traits. I'm not making a definitive statement here, but I do believe there is a thing out there called the horn god. It is a horned god. It is a human being with horns on its head. And I believe that because it has come to me in dreams and talked to me and made requests of me that I have rejected. But it keeps trying to an extent. It's not trying. It's not pushing, but it's like casually like, hey, I'm still here. What do you say? Kind of communication. As far as the Wicca tenet, quote, all paths lead to the center, unquote, I don't fully understand what that means. And I'm not going to get in my beliefs on the afterlife in this video, because that's a whole long, messy video for another day. Like I said, 45 to 50 minutes, and we're at 58 minutes now, so I'm going to wrap this up with a prayer holding on to my pendant to all 12 deities. May the gods watch over me and those who find this video.